listening to the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast with Johnny Slopes.
Top 3 to 5 pick next year.
And Camilla.
For the value you could have gotten at Ryan at.
I almost had 5,000 yards, but no, you don't want me. What you're saying is Wayne Gallman is the Dustin Funches of running backs?
I guess you could say that. I guess you can put me down as a for saying that.
We now bring you to the Fifth Down.
What is up, Fifth Downers? You're listening to the Fifth Down Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Slopes, and with me, as always, is my partner in crime, K-Mill.
Hey.
Yes, and we are here to give you some of the nuggets here for Week 3's waiver wire pickups. Week 2 is come and gone. K-Mill, what are some of your takeaways from Week 2?
Man, that Denver one was amazing. That was an awesome game.
That game was everything I thought it would be and more. Like, I knew Denver was going to dominate defensively, but it was nice to see the offense come alive. It was humming under Trevor Siemian, and he was playing more of like a game manager type game, but the offensive line looked rejuvenated. They were able to run the ball, and when that team can run the ball, that's when their offense is at their best.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with the way the offensive line has held, and I'm really impressed with, our first-round draft pick, Garrett Bowles. I mean, he's played really well. Luckily, the injury, it sounds like, isn't serious. It sounds like it's a bone bruise and not a break, so that's awesome news. He's played like he belongs. I think Denver finally found their left tackle of the future after the departure of Ryan Clady, so it was really promising. It was awesome to see that, because all last year I was telling her, man, look at Dallas, their height, their defense is obviously fucking trash. They, I feel like they just get away with, the ball control offense type of thing. That's what they do. And Denver took it to them, man. And I think
Denver took away the run game. They erased Ezekiel Elliott from that equation, and they are trying to force Dak Prescott to beat him with his arm, and he was unable to do that. And that Dallas offense looked completely different when they were unable to run the ball. Yeah,
it really shows you how much of a focal point Zeke is. I think it could have gotten pretty rough for them. Because it sounds like Zeke's going to end up playing the rest of the season. So, if he wasn't able to, that would have been pretty rough for them.
Yeah. And I think owners that have C.J. Anderson probably feel a lot more better now because it's back-to-back games where he has 20-plus carries. He had 100-plus yards. He was catching the ball out of the backfield, scoring touchdowns. If you got him in, the end of the fourth, early fifth round, it looks like you probably got a nice little steal. We're starting to see the C.J. Anderson from, 2014 or 2015,
Yeah, exactly. I think that he was an awesome value. And all the concerns about him were really overblown from the get-go. I think that everybody just kind of, they're like, Jamal Charles, come on, we know he's got almost nothing left, I knew that he was going to be a bell cow. I got stressed about it in the initial stages when I drafted him in one league, but, now I'm very comfortable with C.J. Anderson in Denver.
And I'm going to take a second because I want to dance real fast because, we were right about Chris Thompson last week. He looks like the guy he looked like the back to own over there in Washington. I know Rob Kelly, he's hurt. It wasn't as serious as I thought, but he looks like he was the electrifying back. He's the pass-catching back in a high-volume offense. What more could you ask for? And he's not going to score touchdowns every week like he did, but him building a nice solid floor. I don't really want to talk about him too much, but that was one of my takeaways from Week 2. Also, looks like Chris Carson's going to win the lead back duties over there in Seattle after his performance. We'll get into him later on in the show as well. Is there anything else that you took away from Week 2, Kimo?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, it was an overall enticing week, and obviously there was a lot of underperforming on offense going on in a lot of games, and left me disappointed. I'm 0-2 in our league, so there's that. Yeah,
you fell. You fell to Johnny Slopes. I'm sorry I had to take you down a couple notches, but I'm hungry this year.
I know, man. That was right after you told me you thought I'd won, and then C.J. Anderson blew up and had a 30-point game in PPR league. So.
Yeah, shit happens when you party naked.
Yeah.
I just want to also just briefly touch on some of the. There was some injuries that had happened. Obviously, the Gronk went down, and it doesn't appear like it's anything serious, but it's something definitely to monitor as the week goes on. Is there any other major injury news for you?
No, I think that was the big one because I was like, I lost David Johnson week 1, and I was like, dude, if I lost Gronk week 2, man, my season's fucking done. Like, I'm toast. But yeah, it sounds like you avoided a major injury, but I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just being like, overly critical, but I feel like it's just a matter of time until Gronk gets hurt again.
Yeah, and also Rob Kelly was injured. That doesn't appear to be anything serious either. They thought that he had fractured his ribs, but it looked like he just did some damage to the rib cartilage. He's day-to-day. So people rushing out to get Samaje Perine. Don't do that because he really didn't look that good when he got 20 carries, but he didn't look good doing it. The running game was actually humming when Rob Kelly was in, and it looked really sluggish once he went down. So I wouldn't be rushing out to go get Samaje Perine at all. And let's before we get into all that though, we keep foreshadowing a lot of our show. But let's go to the quarterback position. Alex Smith, once again, he was my stream of the week for week 2. I tweeted it out. I know I didn't have it out in the podcast, but I tweeted it out. Alex Smith was my stream of the week, and he had 251 yards. He had a touchdown, added 21 yards on the ground. Nothing spectacular. You weren't expecting his performance from week 1, but it's still, if you're streaming him week 2, he's still, I think, quarterback like 2 overall to this point. So I mean that's pretty amazing. Who would have thought though that the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football after 2 weeks right now would be Trevor Siemian?
Yeah, I know, impressive. He's done his best Alex Smith impression and been a game manager, but I think even more than that because he's not lighting up the scoreboard, throwing for 300-400 yards a game. But he's making the right throws. He's making good decisions with the football, except for that one throw at the beginning of the San Diego game. It almost turned into a pick 6. That could have been ugly. But, yeah, he's made really good throws, and he's been really composed, and I really appreciate that. Yeah,
I mean, he's the top quarterback overall right now after 2 weeks. That's crazy, but that's exactly what he is. He only has 450 yards passing through 2 games, but he has 6 touchdowns. He has only 1 interception. With that being said, he still seems like a game manager that will rely on the continued success of the run game. I would stray away from him in most leagues, but Trevor Siemian could offer some appealing streaming options in some weeks, and he could also be a quarterback 2 in Superflex leagues.
Amen to that.
Same thing with Alex Smith. He's still available in about half the Yahoo leagues. He had a solid fantasy day against Philly. He only missed, I think, 7 passes the whole game. He was my stream of the week. And over the next 2 weeks, he has a couple of more streams that seem appealing. He takes on the Chargers next week, and then he gets the Redskins the following week. I think there are probably some better options than Alex Smith against the Chargers, but he should have a solid floor most weeks.
Yeah.
Sam Bradford, he's expected back for week 3. I know Tampa Bay's defense looked really scary against the Bears, but that offense is a mess with all the injuries, and, Mike Glennon was at the helm. Bradford comes back just in time to pick up where he left off. He's still widely available in Yahoo leagues. He's only 33% owned in Yahoo leagues. For me, personally, he's a high quarterback 2 with quarterback 1 upside. He has 2 wide receivers who do an excellent job of getting open, and he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. I think you should be able to catch your league napping with this guy.
Yeah. No, I'm going to take an over and an under on, when Mike Glennon gets replaced. Is it going to be over or under 5 weeks? I'd say under.
You think they're getting ready to replace him? I don't understand. I never understood the signing of him to begin with.
Yeah.
I really don't see the Bears really needing to rush their rookie quarterback out there, though. I just don't think this team's just decimated with injuries, and it's just a bad start to the season already, you know.
Good news for Tariq Cohen owners.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're very willing to just funnel him targets. He's already 85% owned in Yahoo leagues, so you're not going to really find him out in the waiver wire anymore. But, yeah, I mean, he could be a nice little early waiver wire gem. Like, it seems like they're very willing to give him the ball. I think he has, 16 catches through 2 games or something like that, like something absurd. But, yeah, it's pretty much him, Kendall Wright, Zach Miller. There you go.
Yep, that's it.
I think one more appealing streamer could be Jake Cutler. I know he gets. I think he gets not necessarily for next week, but the week following. I think he gets New Orleans. You could probably scoop him up early if you have an extra bench spot. That might not be a bad idea if you're trying to stream quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's always the team to stream against because it's a get right matchup for sure.
Yeah. So let's go over to the running back position. I know we were all about Chris Thompson last week. He appears like he's probably going to be the top pick this week. But you know, if you were listening to us last week, he's probably already on your team. So good, congratulations! You're ahead of the crowd right now. He's still widely available in most leagues, though. If you didn't pick him up, so it's okay. He's 30% owned in Yahoo leagues. Like we said last week, he'll be the pass catching back on a high volume offense. Are you not entertained?
I'm very entertained.
I mean, especially if you're a David Johnson owner and you lost David Johnson, he's not going to replace what David Johnson did, but he gives you a nice little chess piece that you can plug into your flex spot. He's one of those guys where you're not going to get his upside unless you get his downside, experience his downside as well, you know. You kind of just got to plug him in and just leave him in there and have faith.
Yeah, I you know what, you should. And he's a guy that you know, for early season injury can definitely heal what ails you. I thought that was going to be Tariq Cohen for me this week, but you spoiled it for me.
No, he's already 85% owned already. Like, people are on top of that one.
No, I was just joking. I was saying that, like, he could be like that.
Very well. Very well. I mean, he has 12 targets through 2 games. He's like a PPR flex guy. Like, he's probably going to lead the Redskins in fantasy points in PPR leagues, you know.
Yeah, I can see it.
And, you know, when I was looking through the waiver wire through Yahoo, this had to have been wrong, but it said that Buck Allen was only 56% owned. Pretty much every league I've been in, he was picked up, but if for some reason he is available, he's the back to own in Baltimore. But like I said, he's probably already picked up.
Yeah, I mean, he put up some pretty ridiculous numbers this week, and if he's not on your league, you better pick him up right now.
Yeah, he got 35 carries through 2 weeks already. And
yeah.
Now, you know, now with Danny Woodhead out, he's going to play a lot of those passing down snaps, and he's the more versatile back in that backfield. And also, I heard that Terrence West is dealing with a soft tissue injury. While it doesn't appear to be anything serious, it's definitely something worth monitoring, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah. So fire Buck up, Buck Allen.
Yep, Buck again. Another, I think probably the if you can't get Chris Thompson for some reason, I think another solid option to go after is Chris Carson. He's 40% owned in Yahoo leagues, and this is another guy that we were on last week. But you know, if you were unable to get him, if you're unable to get Chris Thompson, go ahead. Chris Carson will be just fine. We know, well, you know, Seattle's offense overall look really bad. Chris Carson has not. You know, he had 93 yards off 20 carries last week, or this past Sunday. He probably locked up the early down work, you know.
Yeah, he seems like the only back that can work around a bad offensive line. He seems like the only one in that offense that can work around a bad offensive line. He repeatedly was getting chunk gains the entire game. I mean, Eddie Lacy, he's going to get cut. That's just that is what it is. Thomas Rawls got the quote-unquote start, but, I mean, he didn't do shit. So, yeah, you're definitely wanting Chris Carson here.
What did Rawls get, like 4 carries for 5 yards? He was ineffective. We know this. We knew Rawls is an ineffective back behind that line. We already know that. We've seen that last year. But Chris Carson can do what Rawls can't do. They're going to give him the ball as long as he has the hot hand.
Amen to that.
Another guy that would have been a good ad if he didn't get hurt while playing well was Rex Burkhead, 21% owned. He had only 5 touches, but he scored a touchdown. But now they're feared that he might have broken his ribs. So that sucks.
Yeah, that really does suck because he was the guy that was really, kind of a lottery ticket on my bench, and he was finally getting utilized the way that I was hoping he would get utilized. Now it's like, it's over.
And what do you know? Another guy that was on the Nugget Report last week, Alvin Kamara. I'm gonna keep bringing this guy up until he's owned in enough leagues because he's only 37% owned in Yahoo leagues, but he looks like he has a decent role on that Saints offense. He has 13 targets in 2 weeks, and the Saints defense is going to be awful all year. So the Saints are going to keep throwing the ball, and he's going to just keep catching it. So you can pick this guy up, and if you're in a PPR league, he's a must-own. And you can pick this guy up, and you can pick your battles, but you can put him in the flex, and he should get you some solid fantasy points. So I'm not worried about the rotation over there in that backfield. I'm giving my full endorsement for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I'm saying it's just a matter of time. I mean, Mark Ingram has, he's shown that he's going to be productive no matter what this season. PPR leagues, he's got a high enough floor to be, used every week, at least as a flex. And then Adrian Peterson is most likely going to get cut too, or traded, or whatever. And then, I think Kamara is going to be the guy to own going forward, definitely.
Yeah, and then if you are Adrian Peterson owner and Alvin Kamara sitting on your waiver wire, you're dropping Adrian Peterson and you're picking up Alvin Kamara because Adrian Peterson, he was done last year, he should have never even been drafted.
Yeah, he was toast.
In a deeper league, or if you have a lot of bench spaces, Mike Tolbert could be a nice little handcuff ad for LaShawn McCoy because he just keeps soaking up carries every game, Not saying he's necessarily worth any waiver bids or anything like that. It's more like a first come, first serve if you have an extra spot. That's all I'm gonna say about him.
Yeah, same.
And I know we already talked a little bit about Samaje Perine earlier in the show. Are we both in agreement he's not worth the ad?
Yeah, no, I just didn't see enough, man.
It just doesn't look like he has enough burst to make it,
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's go. Just one more guy I do want to mention is Deonta Foreman. He had 12 carries for 40 yards. And while Lamar Miller is still getting plenty of carries himself, I think as the season goes on, this workload is going to go closer and closer to being 50-50, if not being in favor of Deonta Foreman. He just looks like the back with more explosion at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
You ready to go over to some wide receivers?
Yes, sir.
All right. I don't really think there's a whole lot out here at wide receiver, and I'm not even saying the top wide receiver to probably pick up, and I'm not even saying he's really a necessary priority ad by any means. But J.J. Nelson, he's currently wide receiver 3 in fantasy leagues and PPR leagues, 21% owned in Yahoo leagues. With John Brown out, J.J. had an explosion game, 5 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown. While he was out targeted though by Jerron Brown, 11-7. He was just a lot more efficient with the ball than Jerron. And with the uncertainty of John Brown's health, if you're need some wide receiver help, I think J.J. Nelson's a solid ad. I don't think he's really a main priority, but if you want a bargain or you're towards the back of the waivers, I think that this could be an option that you can go for.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 2 favorable matchups, as far as, the secondaries he's faced going, but each game he scored a touchdown, which is amazing. And obviously that's a fluky thing to predict, so that's not going to happen all season. He's not going to have 16 touchdowns. But at the end of the day, he's been productive. I mean, if there's any receiver out there that is a priority for me to get, I would say it's him.
Yep. Another guy. This one seems more like fool's gold. I'm not necessarily endorsing this one. Jermaine Kearse. He's currently wide receiver 5 in fantasy football PPR leagues. 7% owned in Yahoo. That's like I said. I think this is fool's gold. Kearse just happens to be the best receiver on his shitty team, but it also could have been just because the Raiders have an awful secondary. This is not a guy that I'm making a priority, though, whatsoever.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so either.
Yeah. I think, but the only reason why I bring him up is because he's going to be a popular ad, and I'm telling you guys, do not pick this guy up. Because ASJ, Austin Seferian-Jenkins, is coming off a suspension, and I would much rather just throw the ball to him than Jermaine Kearse. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry.
Alan Hearns, he was the king of the garbage time. He caught 6 passes for 82 yards and a touchdown. Most of that came in garbage time, though. That's what he pretty much lived off of, though, in 2015. You know, Marquise Lee, though, also had a solid game, and that was 7 for 76. I think if I had to choose, though, I'm still going with Marquise Lee.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
Yep. This is another little sneaky ad if you're at like the back of the waivers or if you can wait for first come, first serve, is Mohamed Sanu. Through 2 weeks, Mohamed Sanu has 15 targets and 11 catches, 132 yards. And he just looks like a solid option because he's in a good offense. That's really it. That's all I got.
It helps when, the team that he plays for has Devontae Freeman and, they have Julio Jones because, they're the guys that are drawing the extra attention, and then he's just, he's going to be the option sometimes. And it seems like he has a safe enough floor. I mean, for 2 weeks, he hasn't scored less than 10 points, so I think that he's an awesome ad to have. Yeah,
I mean, he's not a guy you're going to rush out, grab, and like, oh, yeah, I'm starting him. But he's a guy where when you have the bye weeks that are coming up in a few weeks, he's a nice bye week fill-in.
Yeah.
And I know in deeper leagues, and he still might be a popular ad in some leagues, Brandon Coleman's only 1% owned. He had 4 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. And they got one more game before Willie Snead comes back. But not a guy I'm rushing out to grab. Kendall Wright, he looks like the de facto number 1 for Chicago. He has 14 targets through 2 games, 10 catches, 103 yards. Seems like all the Bears receivers are hurt. He's 15% owned. I mean, still not really excited about owning him, though.
No, me either.
I mean, there's the battle for the Seattle number 2 isn't really that appealing because that offense is having troubles. So I'm not really rushing out to get Paul Richardson or Tyler Lockett or anything like that. Is there any other receivers that are worth mentioning for you?
Yeah, just a mention because my team has just been injuries all over. With the injury to Corey Coleman in Cleveland, opens up an opportunity for Rashard Higgins. I'm not going to lie, I don't really know too much about this kid, but I was looking at him today. And, he's basically going to be stepping up in the number 1 option because Kenny Britt he hasn't impressed at all. He looks toast. Or either that or he doesn't get the team or something. But Rashard Higgins could be worth an ad, especially in 10, 12-team leagues because it seems like if he's the number 1 there, the targets have to go somewhere.
K-Mill, have I ever told you I love you, man? You got my exact guy that I was about to bring up. That's perfect. Rashard Higgins, 2% owned in Yahoo leagues. They signed him. They called him up from the practice squad. They drafted this guy last year. He didn't get to see the field a whole lot. They called him up, and they gave him 11 targets. He caught 7 of them for 95 yards. Like you said, Chris Coleman is hurt. He might have no other choice but to just get peppered with targets.
Yeah, sometimes the best option is the guy that has the most opportunity, and this guy, he has the opportunity. Well, talent, whatever, be damned. If you've got the opportunity, if he can make something of that, then hell yeah, I'm all in.
I definitely like where your head is at. That's about it, though. Let's go to tight end. There's really not a whole lot of tight end options either.
Hold on. It's bad when Ben Watson is like a big ad. He's trending.
Yep. Yeah, he's probably if you're in need for a tight end, if you like missed at tight end for some reason. I mean, Ben Watson, he's old as fuck, but he had 9 targets. He caught 8 of them, 91 yards. And I'm still a little bit skeptical about him because he wasn't really part of the offense at all in week 1. But I mean, I guess it's worth an ad if you're in desperate need. I mean, Jesse James, he's been solid for 2 weeks, but he's hurt. He was seen limping around in that game, so I'm not so sure how serious that one is. I do think there's probably one other guy that's probably worth an ad is Zach Miller. He has 15 targets through 2 weeks, 10 catches. He's looks like he's going to be a big part of this offense. There's a lot of receivers that are hurt on that field, and the ball has to go somewhere. And we've seen him being successful last year. So I mean, we've seen it before, and he seems to be like a major cog in this passing offense with all these receivers out.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I mean, sometimes, like I was saying, the best option is the guy that has the most opportunity, and he's going to get hit on checkdowns a lot. So I think he's the guy to have. But for me, Zach Miller, it seems like he's kind of injury prone. But hey, man, fuck it, you're desperate.
I like the recycled line, bro.
Hey, man, I had to.
And like I said earlier, ASJ's coming off suspension. Not a guy you're going out to pick up, but I'm just saying a guy that you're going to want to mention or monitor to see how he does. And, we almost missed out on me dogging Russell Wilson. No, that's happening right now. It's happening right now. I just want to ask you, what the fuck is going on with Russell Wilson right now? Why is this offense struggling?
Well, at first, everyone wants to, point the finger at the offensive line, but I mean, at some point, Russell Wilson, I would think has enough talent to get this thing going, but I don't know. He looks like a completely different player, and I mean, so he used to be able to extend plays on his feet and stuff like that, and really think on his feet, but it just seems like he's lost his mojo. Maybe it's the lack of a power run game or whatever. But this Seattle offense, I'm genuinely concerned about it, especially if you have like a guy like Doug Baldwin. Like I'm a Doug Baldwin owner, and I'm actually concerned at how anemic it's been so far through 2 weeks, even against a favorable matchup against the 49ers.
Yeah, I think I'm not really worried about Russell Wilson's talent. I've seen what he can do when he has a pocket, and it's magnificent. I'm not worried about Doug Baldwin. I've seen him getting opened. It's just that offensive line is not giving this guy any time, and it's becoming a major issue. I mean, outside of Chris Carson, they really don't have like another back that they're going to be plugging in to just take those like secondary carries. Because Eddie Lacy looks like he's probably better off being one of their offensive linemen at this point in his career, and I just don't know how I feel about Russell Wilson at this point, because we kind of started to see this a little bit last year too,
Yeah, no, I love that actually. Yeah, we should just put Fat Eddie Lacy as a lineman. That would actually not be bad. I mean, fuck, just put a big body there. I mean, that's let's put it.
Like, you useless piece of shit, go and do something.
Yeah, I was like, well, at this point, he can't do any worse than what's already being done, so he might as well just do that. I mean, because he's going to get cut if he's useful to the team.
Correct me if I was wrong, but wasn't he inactive this past Sunday?
Yeah, he was inactive.
Yeah, and it makes sense, because they don't want to pay him. Every time that he's active for a game, he gets money.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
So, I mean, as long as if they can finally get a game where Thomas Rawls shows some life, that's when Eddie Lacy's going to get cut, I think.
Yeah, because right now Seattle's in a bad thing. It's really bad when a rookie has beaten out everybody that you acquired in the offseason to play running back.
And he was drafted in the 7th round, so he was like a priority draft pick,
Yeah, it wasn't like he was a primo pick. It was like, well, shit, I guess we need to shore up, the running back.
There's just draft some insurance right here,
Yeah. Bet they're glad they did. He might.
I know.
Starter.
Yeah, probably. He looks like a gem. I know it's only 2 weeks, but here's all of the quarterbacks. These are some surprising names that are in front of Russell Wilson in terms of fantasy points. Currently, right now, as bad as Carson Palmer has been, Jared Goff, Josh McCown, Mike Glennon, Deshaun Kaiser, Deshaun Watson all have more fantasy points than Russell Wilson. Even Sam Bradford, who's only played one game, has more points than Sam Bradford, and he has only 10 less passing yards than Russell Wilson. That's just to put into perspective how bad Russell Wilson has been in terms of fantasy right now.
Yeah, and at some point, it was like I was saying the other day, and I'm going to recycle another line I use quite often. You know, if you have that supreme talent, you can overcome things like your offensive line. Now, it's not going to be pretty every week, I know that, but when you have the actual talent, you know, you'll find a way to overcome it. It's like any good running back. They're going to find a lane, you know, and it just seems like, I don't know, Russell, come on, man. Let's get it going, man.
Yeah, I think Russell Wilson could be a decent buy low option at this point, just because I think he's going to turn it around at some point this season. So I think he's a nice buy low option. Same thing with Kirk Cousins. I think they're both nice buy low options if you're trying to get a nice little bargain at quarterback or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very good thing to bring up. There's a lot of buy low options right now, or not a lot as far as quarterbacks go.
Before we end the show, I just want to touch on some defenses that could be overlooked, and we'll maybe do a little bit of foreshadowing into Week 4. Is there any defenses that you're on for Week 3?
I think that, well, I would have been on them after, but the Jets surprised me last week against the Raiders. I didn't think they were going to be competitive at all, and they actually I'm not going to say they held their own, but they did put up 20 against Oakland, which is kind of impressive in its own right. So I was going to say the Miami defense because they're playing the Jets, but, you know, Miami's defense doesn't really scare anybody, I don't think.
Well, I think Miami's defense actually did a pretty good job against the Chargers, actually. You know? You don't think they did a good job against the Chargers? I think they held them to 17 points and got the win.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they did. The thing is, though, is I don't know how San Diego keeps finding ways to lose. And it's just a side note, but, like, they have a decent defense, and they have, like, on paper, they have a great offense, and they still find ways to fucking lose. I don't understand.
It's because everyone has morals nowadays, and they keep rejecting this young ho.
That young ho, man.
The young ho just keeps getting rejected. It wasn't a block this time, but still, I feel so bad for this young ho that they have on this team.
Young hoes, man, they need to get cut.
Well, you know, as what did Lil Wayne say? Hoes gonna be hoes.
Hoes gonna be hoes.
So I couldn't blame. Was it? I don't remember the line.
Wait, no. It was. Oh yeah, bitches. Or no, he's like something about Tammy, but hoes gonna be hoes. So I couldn't blame Tammy.
I think this is not a defense that you're picking up necessarily for Week 3, but they play Cleveland Week 4 and they play Buffalo Week 5. Cincinnati's 35% owned. You're not really picking them up for per se Week 3, but I think they're a nice little decent streaming option for 2 weeks, and then you can drop them Week 6 for their bye.
Yeah, hey, there you go. That's a good option.
And I think another one that I think Atlanta kind of impressed me a little bit. They're 31% owned. They have 7 sacks through 2 weeks, interception, a fumble. They scored a touchdown. And, you know, they get Detroit and Buffalo the next 2 weeks. Maybe not so much Detroit, but it might be a good idea to stream them against Buffalo too.
Hey, there you
go. What do you think about the Philadelphia defense? They have 8 sacks through 2 weeks, 3 fumble recoveries, and a touchdown. Are you impressed by them?
Yeah, I am actually. So that game kind of shocked me. I really thought that Kansas City would have kind of an easier time with them. And I really don't know like what that actually. Hold on, my wife. Let me. Damn it. There.
All right.
I'm just gonna send her to voicemail. You
okay.
there?
Yep.
All right. Okay. No, so as far as they go, yeah, it was pretty impressive to me. The Eagles actually look like a lot more of a competitive team than they were last year, and I think those 8 sacks.
Yep. One other defense that I just want to bring up that's hardly owned in any leagues is Tennessee. They're 11% owned. They play a struggling Seattle team next week, and then after that they get Houston. So I think that could also be a nice streaming option.
Yeah, you could definitely pick on them. Another one to bring up is if for some reason they are available, New England's defense, they're playing Houston, and we saw that they're pretty inept when it comes to football, last week. So just saying.
Yeah, there's a few more injury updates. I just found my list, so I'm going to read them off before we end the show. Randall Cobb, he has a shoulder injury, but he's day-to-day, so it doesn't look like it's too serious. Luck is already ruled out for Week 3, so Jacoby Brissett is most certainly starting after he almost led a victory against the Cardinals. Jordan Reed has a chest injury. He's day-to-day. And Tyler Eifert, he injured his back, the same back and knee issue that he had last year, so he's uncertain for Week 3. Like we said, Terrence West, he has some kind of soft tissue injury. Corey Coleman broke his hand. And J.J. Nelson, he left the game with a quad injury, so we have to wait till Wednesday to figure out what's going on with him. Corey Davis, his injury does seem kind of serious too. He hurt the same hamstring that he was having issues with this preseason, so that's also a concern. And Greg Olsen broke his foot. He's going to miss at least 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Or 6 games, I'm sorry.
Disappointing because, in most teams, he was going to be that season-long tight end, and now that's not happening.
We all thought he was a safe option, Yeah. He's a guy that usually doesn't get hurt, or if he does get hurt, he usually plays through it. And now he's just something you gotta know. It's pretty bad for him to miss some time. I mean, there's really not much you can do about a broken foot. Kind of need those to run.
Yeah, you definitely do. You can't play with that.
Kano, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. We love you, sit-downers.
Yes. If you enjoyed this show, please tune into us on iTunes, Sit Down Fantasy Football. You can also find us on Stitcher and Spreaker. And please leave us some reviews on all the platforms. That'd be great for us. You can find us on Twitter at the Fifth Down SF. We'll be taking up some lineup advice. If you have anything, send it our way, and we reply to everyone. So thank you, Fifth Downers, for listening to us, and have a nice night.
Peace.